Welcome to Behind the Business, the podcast where we cut through the noise and get real about running a profitable business. I'm Pamela Hilton, CPA, with over 30 years in accounting, tax, payroll, and business advisory services. Each week, I will share stories from the field, answering real questions from business owners, and give you the straight talk you need to grow and protect your business. No fluff, no hype, just practical advice that works in the real world. So, let's get to it.
Hey there, and welcome back to Behind the Business. I'm Pamela Hilton, CPA. In this week's episode, I want to talk about getting ready for tax season. I know this can be a source of stress for so many people. Tax season comes around, getting ready, unfamiliar with the process, and only going through the process once a year, every year. You forget things. So I'm going to walk you through our process at Hilton CPA. It's very similar to other processes at other CPA firms. And I'm going to give you some tips and tricks along the way to make it a less stress process. So the first and foremost thing you should be doing as a business owner, as an individual, is be using a qualified professional. And I think there's a lot of misunderstanding out there as to what an expert is, what a qualified professional. So I'm just going to go over that really, really quick. CPAs like myself are licensed in every state. We have education requirements. I think you are required to have a bachelor's degree now before you can even sit for the CPA exam. We go through a huge exam process, just like it is to become an attorney in this country. And then we have continuing education every year. We have requirements to continue our education to keep up our skills. An enrolled agent is another type of tax professional. It's just an IRS designation. There's no education requirement. You take an exam that the IRS gives, and then you can become an enrolled agent. And then lastly, a tax preparer is there's no education requirements, there's no licensing, there's no oversight. Anyone can be a tax preparer. So there's no oversight really for any kind of tax preparers. So if you're going to want to work with an expert in that field, you really want to go with somebody who has a CPA designation or an enrolled agent designation, but CPA is kind of the gold standard in the tax and accounting industry. So that being said, once you find your qualified professional to work with you to prepare your tax return, really the key is you want to be working with somebody who's actively trying to reduce your tax burden, your tax liability. And how are you going to know if that person is actively trying to reduce your taxes? They're going to be asking you a lot of questions. They have an established procedure. They have forms and things like that they're going to fill out to kind of remove the guesswork in all of that. And I'm going to be going over that in our process now, how we do that and how we actively try to reduce people's tax liability, because that's really the name of the game at the end of the day, right? Is to pay less in taxes. So let's go through how our process starts. At the beginning of every year, we send out our welcome to tax season email to all of our existing clients. And in that email, it has kind of all of the steps that they need to do in order to have a successful tax season. It includes our tax organizer, instructions on our client portal, and then just kind of what to expect during the tax season process. So the first thing I just mentioned, the tax organizer, this is one of these things that trips up a lot of people. It's usually many pages long. Ours, we've pared it down. I think it's maybe only 10 or 15 pages. But the most important part of the tax organizer, and lots of other CPA firms and accounting tax firms will use some sort of tax organizer. The main purpose of the tax organizer is, one, to update any information and update us about your situation. It's something that's changed from last year to this year. You've moved, you've changed jobs, you've had a child, you've retired, those sorts of things. You've changed your bank account for direct deposit. Those things are really important for us to be updated on. And the tax organizer is really the easiest way to kind of convey all that information. But the second most important part of the tax organizer is the questionnaire. Every year, the organizer changes a little bit, and specifically the questionnaire, because it's geared towards all of the brand new tax credits that might be out there for the year, tax deductions. So if you're filling out the questionnaire and you're answering yes to any of those questions, it gives us, the preparer, information that clues us in that there are things out there, tax deductions, tax credits that you might be eligible for. So if you skip the tax organizer, it's number one, it's going to make our job a little bit harder, because then we have to go back and ask you a whole bunch of questions about your tax situation and the questions on the questionnaire. And it's not going to guarantee that all of those things out there that you're eligible for, tax credits, tax deductions, things like that, that are going to help improve your tax, reduce your taxes. If you don't fill out that questionnaire, we're not going to have that leg up to know that you're already eligible for certain things. And again, we have to ask more and more questions. So filling out the organizer is really the best first step for you. It puts you in a better situation tax-wise, and it gives us more information about what's going on with you and your family and in your circumstances for this tax season. So that's the first thing, is make sure you do, to the best of your ability, I know it's a little overwhelming, to fill out the tax organizer. The other thing we encourage our clients to use is our secure client portal, and many firms out there have their own secure client portal. And it's really the easiest way and most secure way to get your tax documents, W-2s, 1099s, all of that good stuff. Get those tax documents to us in a secure way. Don't email them to us. Don't take a picture and email it or text it to us. If you put everything in the portal, number one, it's secure. We know it's sent to us securely and in a safe manner. And number two, when we're preparing your return, we know that all of the documents we need are in your client portal vault. It's all there, so that we know if we've missed anything, if we neglected to download a file, it's all right there, and we can see how many files you sent us and how many files we used to prepare your return, and if we're missing any documentation. So using the client portal as a means to get us your information is really the best way, for so many reasons, to give us your tax documents. If we have clients who do send us info by text or send it by email, we get so many emails and so many texts, we can't really guarantee that information makes it into your tax return. For that reason, we like to use the secure client portal that we have and that we provide to our clients. The next thing on our list is the engagement letter. We have a professional engagement letter that we use every year with our clients. And again, other CPA firms will use a similar engagement letter with similar language. And it really just sets up the expectations of what you can expect from our firm, the services we're providing, and the timeline in which we're providing it. And also it kind of sets up expectations for you, what to expect from us and what we expect from you. So really the engagement letter is just a standard form that we have our clients sign every single tax year for every single tax return that we do. The next thing I want to talk about is timelines. There's a lot of confusion over when people get us their information and how quickly they can get their returns done. And most of that really depends on you, the tax client. So every time we get information into the client portal to start somebody's tax return, we'll download the information and we'll look through it. It is very rare, like almost never, that we get all of the information we need in the first try when we start somebody's tax return. We always have to go back for clarification, ask the client some questions, something is missing. So that really affects the timeline. If we need more information, which is almost 100% of the time we're going to need more information, and we send you an email or a list of items needed, information request, the quicker you can get that back to us and get back to us all of the information on that list, the quicker your tax return will be done. I have lots of times sent requests for information and we only receive partial information back, or there's a misunderstanding about what we need, or they only send us the first page of a tax form and we need all of the pages. So if we send out an information request, which is so if we send out an information request to a client and we only get back a partial information, we have to then wait to see if we receive the rest of the information, or we have to send a follow-up request information to a client. So the timeline, as you can see, it can really kind of blow it out weeks and weeks if we don't hear from clients or if they forget to send us information. So we tell clients, it really depends on you. How quickly you can respond to us is really how quickly we can get your return done. And it also depends on the queue. We prepare returns, tax returns, in the order in which they come in. Every time clients send us information, it's time and date stamped, so we know who's in the queue and in what place they're in the queue. Sometimes there's 2 people ahead of you in the queue. Sometimes there's 20 people ahead of you in the queue. So it really depends, and we can't really control when people send us information and where you are in the queue. So it's kind of when you're in the queue, when the information comes in, we do the returns in the queue that you guys are already in. And then, like I said, we have to usually almost always send out an email saying, hey, we are missing some information. We need clarification on this, blah, blah, blah. So that's really the timeline. It can be 2 weeks. It could be 2 days. So there's really no telling during tax season, kind of all bets are off, how quickly we can get your return done, because it just depends on so many factors, and it really ultimately depends on you and how quickly you can respond to questions that we ask. And here at our firm, we always follow up with emails. Your emails and your responses to emails and responses to requests for information are all part of our work papers when we're preparing your tax return. So we always do it by email. Oh my gosh. So we always do this by email so that we have a written record and there's a kind of a trail of information requested and when we get them back. So that's really it when it comes to timeline, how quickly we can turn around a return. But if we get information back really rapidly, we usually can get returns done within a few days. If we have all the information, if you respond very quickly, and we can get we can get the things, because everything's electronic. So we can get things delivered pretty quickly if we have all the information. Businesses, the way to have a stress-free tax season, if you're a business, and again, this is a common theme in my podcast, you have to have really solid numbers. You have to have solid accounting software. You have to have somebody maintaining your software and your numbers on a regular basis, and it has to be really solid in order for us to do your tax return. We generally prefer that we're doing your accounting, or that we vet the bookkeeper or accountant that you have who's doing your accounting software and maintaining all of your numbers, because we don't want to put inaccurate information from financials, a balance sheet of profit and loss that you send us. So we generally require your information to be accurate. We are going to want access to your accounting system if we're not already doing your accounting for you. And we want to look through all of those numbers and make sure that, again, you're in the best situation tax-wise when it comes to your financials and your numbers and your accounting for your business. Because, and I do know there's a lot of other preparers out there who will just take the numbers off your P&L and put them in the tax return, but that's really not strategizing in any way. We want to strategize. We want to make sure that we have tax savings strategies implemented for you before we even put the numbers on the tax return. So making sure you have a solid software that you're using, the numbers are maintained, the numbers are accurate, we have access to them. If you are still doing the numbers yourself, it might be time to delegate. Working that into your 2026 goals, and I have another podcast on goal setting for 2026, might not be a bad idea. So that's it as far as businesses. Making sure you have solid numbers to start out with is really the first step, because if we have to go back and tell you that your numbers are really kind of a mess and they're incomplete and they're not accurate, then we have to kind of go back and maybe redo some things for you. The next step in the whole tax season process is, once the returns are completed and delivered to you, there's another little process after that. We want you, let me back step a little bit. When we deliver your tax returns, it's through your portal. It's an electronic PDF that we send to you. We send to you a copy of your tax return, the instructions on what you need to do next, If there's any estimated tax payments that you need to pay for the next year, those will be included in there. If you need to pay any taxes, maybe instructions on how to pay your taxes will be in there. But once you get delivery of all of those PDFs, we want you to download them, save them, review all of the numbers on your tax returns. And of course, if you have trouble with any of that, you can sit down with us and we'll go over. We usually have a post-tax return meeting where we can explain the numbers to you and go over any questions that you have with your tax returns. But downloading them, saving them, and you have to review all of the numbers on them before we will even think about filing your returns for you. And the last step is you have to sign your returns. Even though in this electronic age, you're getting things electronically in a PDF, we still need your electronic signature on the e-file authorization forms. There's going to be a federal form, and you may have to sign one for your state as well, authorizing us, saying that yes, you've gotten delivery of the return, you've looked at them, the numbers are accurate, and you electronically sign saying, yep, we've reviewed them, it's okay to go ahead and file the returns now. We can't file your returns without your electronic signature. We won't file your returns without an electronic signature. And I think a lot of people misunderstand that that's part of the step, part of the process. You have to review them, you have to look at them, you have to download them and save them, and you have to sign the authorization forms. The next thing, estimated tax payments. I won't go too much into that, but if you owed for the current tax year, most likely, more often than not, we will create estimated tax payment forms for you and instructions on how to pay them and when to pay them based on the safe harbor rules. So those get generated automatically. If you're using another tax, a CPA or tax preparer company, it's part of the software. They should be able to generate estimated tax payments for you. And we just automatically, based on safe harbor, if you qualify for estimated tax payments, we'll prepare them for you and send them to you with your tax package. So that's really kind of all of our process in a very quick nutshell. But how do you prepare for tax season based on all that information? So this is what we recommend for our clients. Download and save all of your 1099s, W-2s, because really it's ultimately your responsibility to save these very important tax documents, your W-2 at the end of the year, 1099s for interest and dividends, any brokerage statements you have from any investment accounts, any K-1s if you have ownership interest in any businesses, K-1s. All of those are tax documents that you need to save as part of your permanent record. Save them in a folder on your PC, on your computer. We like to save everything by year. We number the folders by year and just dump all of the source documents, W-2s, etc. into there. And then when we deliver your tax returns, that goes into that folder as well. And then you have one folder for every year with all your tax documents and your tax returns. It's your responsibility to keep these permanent file documents, permanent tax documents. It's your responsibility to keep copies of your tax returns. Yes, as your CPA firm, we always have copies and we keep them, but it's ultimately your responsibility to keep copies of them as well and have them on hand if you need them. Because honestly, if you're going for any type of loan or mortgage or refinancing situation, you're going to need those anyway. And having the PDF right there in a folder by year on your PC is really just the easiest way to do that. Next is have your online accounts with the IRS. And if your state has income tax, with your state as well. You should have online access to these accounts because it's going to have tax notices in there. It's going to have your tax returns when they were filed in there. It's always a good idea to go onto the irs.gov website and sign up for their online account. If you have a business, you would need your personal account and your business account to have online access to, because you want to have access to that information. Both federal, IRS, and your state may have a separate online account as well. The last thing I want to talk about on how to be prepared is the difference between electronically filing your return, having your return electronically accepted by the IRS and by the state, and having your tax returns processed by the IRS and by the state. So filing your return, having it accepted, and having it processed are 3 different steps in the tax filing process. So we as a tax preparer, when we e-file your tax return, we get an acknowledgement from the IRS and from the state that, yep, we've e-filed your return and they accepted the returns. But that doesn't mean that they've actually processed your return and that your return has been accepted and reviewed and processed in the IRS's system and in your state system. That's the final step that we don't have control over. We don't get notified when it's been processed and completed. And the only way for you to know that is to log into your IRS online account and to log into your state income tax account to see that, yep, it's been filed, it's been processed, and it's been accepted by them and completed. We've had, and it doesn't happen very often, but it can happen, that we've filed your return, it shows us that it's been accepted, but for whatever reason, it gets sidelined, it got sent to review, it was missing something for some reason, and it may get rejected further on down the line, and we don't have any knowledge of that. In our system, it says it's been filed, but there is still that chance that it's not completed on the IRS end and on your state taxing agency end. So that's another reason, probably a big reason to have your accounts, online access to your IRS account and your state income tax account, to just double check that everything's been processed and done and completed, and you can worry about tax season next year. The other thing, just to be prepared and to keep accurate files, is to keep track of every time you make a tax payment, whether it's at the end of the year with your tax return or if it's estimated tax payments. And again, if you have an online account with the IRS, you'll see them in there. But keep track of all those payments you make. Keep confirmation, the confirmation codes and a screenshot of your confirmation that you made the payment. We, as tax preparers, don't get that information when you've made a payment. We don't see that. We don't know when you've made your estimated tax payments. Only you know that information. And so keeping accurate records on that is really critical for us to have an accurate and complete tax return, making sure that you've made all the payments and that they're on your tax return that you made those payments. And then lastly, keeping accurate records as a business owner is so critical when it comes to the tax preparation, the compliance at the end of the year, filing the taxes. Using really good software for your accounting is critical. We recommend Xero.com to our clients. It's what our firm uses for our own accounting. Not only that, but using an expert to maintain that software, to make sure all your transactions are recorded, everything is reconciled. And not only that, it's recorded in a way to put you in the best tax position, because that makes a difference too. Just kind of linking your bank accounts to the software and having it categorize things for you isn't a tax strategy. Tax planning is also critical if you're a business owner. We offer this at our firm. Most CPAs offer tax planning. There's no reason why you, as a business owner, can't know before the end of the year what you're going to pay in taxes. It's very easy to figure out where you are tax-wise during the year as a business owner. Even personally, you can do that. You can do tax planning to know where you're going to be. If you're going into this tax season not knowing how much generally you're going to owe for taxes, then you should be doing tax planning. And a good time to do tax planning is usually September, October, November of every year, so that there's no surprises. And then lastly, implementing goals and budgets and strategies, and good software, accounting software will do a lot of this for you. Making sure that you're doing all of these for your business during the year will ensure kind of a smooth tax season. So that's really it. That's our tax process here at Hilton CPA. If you are not sure of your tax process with your CPA, sit down with them. Or if you want to get on our current client list for us to do your taxes this year, go over to our website, which is PamelaHiltonCPA.com, and click on the button for a discovery call, and we can walk you through what we do and what we can do for you tax-wise for you and your business this tax season. So I hope this is helpful. And again, go over to my website for more resources and tools, and if you want to book that discovery call.
Thanks for listening to Behind the Business. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with another business owner who could use some real-world advice. For free resources, tools, and to submit your own business questions, head on over to my website, PamelaHiltonCPA.com. Until next time, keep building smart and keep looking behind the business.